Hello, everyone. Welcome back to On Purpose, the #1 health podcast in the world because of each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for taking out time out of your day, out of your evening to be here, to learn and grow and advance your thinking. And like you know, every week I try and find guests that I believe are going to ask us thought-provoking questions, give us deeper insights to ourselves, and give us so much experience and abundance and wealth of insight to learn from so that we can learn from their lives, their mistakes, their failures, their successes, and most of all, their wisdom. And today's guest is someone that I've been really blown away by. I've met him for the first time this week, but he just has this natural humility, his natural grace. He's extremely kind-hearted. And it really blows me away when extremely successful individuals are so deeply, genuinely grounded and wanting to do incredible things for the world. So as you know, this week, I've been with the Arthur Blank Family Foundation. We've been at the West Creek Ranch here in Montana, and we've been discussing the state of well-being in America. And the person who's put this on is Arthur Blank himself, who is the best known as the co-founder of the Home Depot and was named by Forbes as one of the world's 100 greatest living business minds and Sports Business Journal's most 50 influential people in sports for the past 3 years. His business portfolio currently includes the NFL's Atlanta Falcons, MLS Atlanta United, the Retail PGA Tour Superstore, the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation, and many, many more ventures. Arthur, I'm so grateful, honored, and humbled that you're doing this. Thank you for being here.
Well, it's great to be with you. As I said to you the other night, I mean, you're the last person I see when I go to bed. And it's always very warming to hear your counsel and your wisdom. So thank you for sharing that with all of us. I appreciate it.
No, thank you so much. I was so touched to hear that you'd been watching my videos without me even knowing.
I have been. I love them all. The great stories. And kind of like you said the other day, we're talking about Albert Einstein, how the ability to take something that's very complex and has a lot of sides and edges to it and make it to where it's digestible and understandable by the majority of people. And I think that's a powerful asset that you have. And one that I try to remember as well, to try to make things a little bit easier for people to understand, and therefore, get through the points you're trying to make. You do it well, very well.
Thank you so much. That means so much to me coming from you. And we're so happy and grateful to be in this incredible ranch this week, your space here in Montana. We have this incredible view, and even more amazing is the people that you've gathered and your team has gathered for this such an important conversation and cause.
Yeah.
Could you tell us about where this idea for this week came for you and what the purpose was from your perspective?
Well, I think it was you were born out of a lot of years of my journey in terms of wellness and well-being, and I was a very competitive runner for many years of my life, and that that was great, but we transitioned out of that, and I do a variety of other things to keep myself physically and mentally in shape now, but we're living in very troubled times, and I'm talking about really on a global basis, nationally as well as globally. And despite our GDP, which we discussed the other day, as not being the real measure of happiness in a country, despite the growth of that, we've got a lot of issues that young people and older people are all struggling with. The fact that you met Laurie Santos from Yale University, and a quarter of the student body of Yale, 318 years old, was taking this course every year on how to deal with positive growth, how to deal with the stress in your life, et cetera. At Harvard, they have over 1,000 students every semester do a similar. So the reality is, it's not only with folks my age that are, why is the suicide rate double since 1996, 30%, I should say. But the young people today, thank heavens, are questioning themselves. What is my purpose? What's my purpose myself? What's my purpose in serving humanity? What's my purpose in what I'm doing? How do I connect all these dots in my life journey together? And so I think the idea was to bring together the best, the brightest, and the smartest. We have them all, starting with you, and many others that have incredible backgrounds and histories, and bring such knowledge and wisdom to the room And the idea was to bring together for us as a funder and other funders as well, are there ways that we can help move the ball down the field, to use, either of my football teams, American football or soccer as an analogy, but is there ways that we can put our shoulder to the wheel and do more than what is currently being done? Is there ways we can assist? And we do that within our own businesses, and we can talk about that later if you like. But beyond that, what's the scale? What's the impact? We've talked about that. Lord knows that if we make a difference in one person's life, that's a huge journey by itself. But reality is that these issues are of such scale, not only nationally but internationally, as we've heard from Dan Buettner, Blue Zones, and
Ben Lido,
Bob Walding,
yes.
and Bob Walding from Harvard. I mean, these issues are being questioned, throughout the world. So they're big time concerns that we have to face.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I first received the invite and saw what the conversation was, I was just so happy and in awe that this was taking place.
Yeah.
I just thought, wow, there's someone out there who is so deeply invested and seems so genuinely caring about what the challenges of the world are. And then when I looked at the list of people coming, I was just like, wow, this can be so exciting for me, because I'll have my notebook out.
Right.
And I've learned so much this week.
Yeah.
So thank you again. And I want to help my audience understand your backstory, because I think that's what really shows where people's purpose comes from.
Right.
It's very easy to look at you. We're sitting in this beautiful West Creek
yeah,
Ranch today.
Right, yeah.
It's, this beautiful property here, but you actually grew up in a 1-bedroom apartment.
I did.
Queens.
Right.
And you didn't move out until you went to college and didn't live in a home till age 32.
Right, that's correct, yeah.
And so tell us about how formative that experience was and what you learned from it.
Well, I think it was very important in my own life. My father was a pharmacist, but I lost him when I was 15. He was 44 at the time, very young age. My mother was 37. She took over my dad's business and ran it. But, we didn't have very much. I mean, as I said, it was a 1-bedroom apartment shared by all 4 of us. We had a single bathroom. I mean, we were living in a very, very modest way. And but the one thing I remember clearly about my mother is that it was never about money. It was always about making a difference and trying to give back and trying to be involved in the community, et cetera. I mean, I wear this bracelet that I had made from our book. It's inscribed. You can't see it on here, but I wear one every day. It matches the color of what I'm wearing. I try to, but it says you only pass through once, make a difference. So, and that was the title of the book that she wrote. So I think that became ingrained in me, the notion of trying to make a difference, giving back, being connected to others in the community, and what have you. And we were not in a position to write checks then, but, writing checks is great, but doing the work itself and getting connected to the individuals that you're trying to serve is really the most rewarding part of philanthropy in my view. It makes it all come to life, makes it all real, gives it more purpose than just sitting and writing checks. Checks are important. Resources are important to make things happen and bring scale. But I think it's important to have that background. That, I would say, part of it, and my faith. I'm Jewish, and one of the expressions in Judaism is tikkun olam, which means to repair the world. Or tzedakah, giving and participating. So those were ingrained in me, even though when I went to services, you don't think you absorb all that. You obviously did, became a monk at 18, but a lot of the congregational meetings I went to, et cetera, I wasn't sure exactly but I was absorbing more so than I even really thought. So I think those things are very important in terms of my childhood.
Yeah, that's incredible. And regardless of how little you had,
Yep.
your mother was always trying to find time and energy to give to the community in different ways. Right. I think those are really powerful messages.
Yeah, and I think when I bought my first home, it was, $32,000. I was 32 years old. I remember telling my wife then, I said, look, I'm not going to embarrass us. I'll pay off the mortgage. I'll keep us current. Don't worry about that. I'll pay the bills, but we're never going to pay this mortgage off completely. I just, there's no way, so obviously that part of my life has changed. But remembering that and remembering that experience and what it meant to not have the kind of financial success that we have today, going back to those days, I think was a very important part of my own molding, if you will.
Absolutely. I think perspective is so important. I remember when I was 9 years old, I visited India for the first time, and my father took me to the home that he grew up in. And he grew up in an area where they shared a bathroom with 30 other families.
Yeah.
His home was as big as this room, and that had 7 people living in this much space. And when I went outside, there were like bats and cockroaches and all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, I couldn't believe that that's where my dad grew up.
Yeah.
And compared to, we didn't grow up in a huge house in England, but compared to his home, our home was huge.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was so important, I feel, at 9 years old to see that.
Right.
Because it started making me feel grateful for what I did have rather than being ungrateful for what I didn't have.
Yeah, and I think, just as your journey brought you at some point at age 18, I think it was, when you decided to, go on the journey of becoming a monk, you're affected by your background, your history, all the connecting points in your life. And sometimes they don't all seem to add up right at the moment, but there's a big puzzle going on in your head and in your heart and in your spirit that actually brings those things together. And it's, that moment of saying, aha, this is my purpose. This is really what I want to do. I feel at peace with this. I want to, go as far as I can down this road, take others with me, travel with others, et cetera. So I think it's been beautiful from my standpoint.
Yeah. And tell us how then 5 years later at 37, you go from feeling tired of working at a regional hardware store to then going on to build the biggest. What does that process of thinking about it, making it happen, pushing forward look like?
Well, we really weren't tired of doing it. It was a company that was called Handy Dan Home Improvement Centers, which was then the most successful home improvement center company chain in the United States, but it was owned by a larger company that was in financial difficulty. So when Bernie and I, my partner who co-founded Home Depot, we got fired actually. So it wasn't like, well, let's, it was a lot of political reasons, and that's a whole nother story. But beyond that, it was our chance really to live our lives over again from a business standpoint. And although those stores were the best run in the United States, we felt if we ever had to compete with a large, no-frills, down-market warehouse store, we really couldn't do it. So we said if we couldn't do that, and we were running the best company in that sector that time, let's try to develop that and go with that. And that was the birth of Home Depot, and started in 78. First stores were in 79. It's a long story. When I left 23 years later, it was the second largest retailer in the world, second only to Walmart, which is a great company. And they have one of their senior executives here this week as well, and trying to understand well-being and wellness and how that relates to the associates that they have. And I don't even know what their number is today. It's probably about 1.5 million, maybe more than that. It's mind-boggling.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
What gave you, what I'm really interested in, Arthur, is that what gave you the courage and risk-taking after being fired at the age of 37 to do that? Because I think today, and it's interesting because I was sitting yesterday at a table with Laurie, with Robert, and we were discussing this, and what they were sharing with me is that so many students today at some of the best institutions in the world, and all institutions in the world, are so scared of doing anything that isn't the path. And what I mean by the path is they believe that they go to Yale or Harvard, they continue and they have to get a job in what they're studying right now, and that they have to live that very narrow line. And they said, in their words, they know some of their students are doing things they hate just because it's the path. Where did you feel the confidence and the risk-taking approach to try something new? And how can our audience and listeners today feel that they're not old? Because today people think they're old at 25. And we think we're old at 28 to try something new.
I got married at 23 the first time, and I said, oh God, this is 23 years old. I need to get married. Today, the kids are getting married much later. But in any event, I think in my own case, probably came from the experience that my father passing away at an early age, being an entrepreneur. He was working as a pharmacist. He left several years before he passed away, started his own wholesale drug company across America, drugstores, hospitals, nursing homes, et cetera. And then when he passed away, my mother took that business over. So I had all these role models in my family of, not giving up, of trying something new, extending yourself, going on that journey. I've been connected with Outward Bound for probably 40 years now, and their slogan is to serve, to strive, and not to yield. And so I very much believe in that, and the notion that we all can do more than what we thought we were capable of doing. And it doesn't mean you do it without, safety nets around you, but but you can do more than what you thought. So I would encourage, and I do encourage people to, as Dr. Dwyer would say, to find the music within you and make sure it gets played. So I think, a lot of us have to find that, that music, if you will, that passion, that point of physical, mental, spiritual connection that makes us feel we're not getting up to work today. We're getting up to not have fun, but to do God's work, do our work, do work with purpose, service to others, etc. So I think, you try to find, and I encourage young people today to try to find. Don't worry about making money. If you're good at what you're doing, you're going to be fine. And money is really not the main attribute to happiness, as you well know. But I think doing what you find a passion for, serving others in some capacity, and being part of the greater community, not just of your family, which is obviously critical, but of humanity, brings you the joy and peace. And I think if you can find a business that in one form or another provides that service, I think you create a company. Expression I use to our managers that you want our associates to feel this company is really worthy of your life. I don't mean that in disrespect to religion or whatever else it may be, but they give you 8, 10, 12 hours a day, whatever it may be, but you want them to come to work and not have to think of it as work. Think of it as, this is part of my mission. I love the values of this organization. I believe in them. I want to stand for them. I want to participate in them. I want to help articulate them. I want to help share them with others as they join our businesses. And I think that passion, and that commitment is what will bring a greater sense of joy. And hopefully, I'm thrilled really with Bob Walding here and Laurie Santos here as best examples, and many other universities. But this tremendous thirst that our young people have, who at the end of the day really are our future. The young people have to find a greater purpose, find themselves personally, and then find a greater connection to others in their community and humanity is something that I applaud. And that's why your work is so important, because you're part of the voices that young people everybody's listening to. I'm 76, so I'm not young, but everybody is listening to today, and trying to get some better guidance, broader guidance, more spiritual guidance, connecting guidance to everything inside of themselves than they would have had otherwise. So, I'm very optimistic about the direction that we're going in. But it's not going to happen by itself. It's not going to change by itself. We need people like yourself, Jay, and all the people in the other. Other rooms that are doing incredible work, and making sure that those messages get expanded, and we're touching more and more people, and find ways to bring that message of scale. And I think it's one that people, when somebody has that feeling that I'm not really, this is purpose to me. In the true sense of the word, what I'm doing every day has purpose. It's like these, young men you have here, we're recording this. I assume, they love working with you, but they probably love, hearing some of these stories, and every day they exposed to, some other thoughts that help them enrich their own mind and their own thoughts. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I hear you speak from the first day when you led the introduction to even now, the words like purpose and values and spirit, they're so deeply embedded in who you are. And one of the things I loved, and we'll try and get a slide to put it onto the video version, but when you first started speaking, you showed us the two value diagrams that you have. And one thing I loved is that there was an upside down pyramid.
Right.
And on the upside down pyramid, the person at the bottom of the pyramid was Arthur.
It was me. Right.
And I loved that because, and at the top was customers.
Right.
And then you had the other circular one with innovation and all these other aspects of values. I'd love for you to talk through some of those.
Sure.
Because I believe that we hear a lot of people say this stuff.
Right. I know.
And you've probably heard it more than I have. But from spending a bit of time with you and seeing the success of what you've done, it seems like you've actually been able to really do it.
Right. Yeah.
Please share with us some of those values and how you constructed them specifically, and where that upside down pyramid and you at the bottom idea came from.
Yeah. So I think, Jay, all of our businesses, regardless of their exactly what they're doing, you described them all well earlier, all at incredibly high, very high success